When my father came to town, people came from all over the country to hear him preach. They crowded up those little country churches, sitting on the floor, standing in the back. The cars were packed in so tightly, only mangy yellow mud dogs could get through. I asked my father why so many people came, and he said, because a lot of people need to be saved.
Excuse me, miss, but do you have this in a size 4 in the back? I'm on the search for the meaning of life, the source of the universe, world peace, and my dark-haired, dark-eyed, hung like a grizzly bear soulmate. I think you have him in the back. Could you just check in the back? You got the sniffles? Grandma's chicken noodle soup. You want a little more hair on your chest? Grandma's chicken noodle soup. You got a bellyache from eating too much? Grandma's chicken noodle soup. You want to cure the blind and the deaf? Grandma's chicken noodle soup. 2 bowls. American opera singer Beverly Sills once said, "There are no shortcuts to any place worth going." Taking this a little more abstractly, we can see that there are no shortcuts to waiting 9 months until a baby is born. There are no shortcuts into raising a child to be a man. And there are no shortcuts into overcoming the grief of a lost one. However, in today's world devoid of shortcuts, it is never difficult to find those individuals searching for them nevertheless. Empirical Miracle, a program on the validity of miracle cures. Poems, In the Back by Reagan Fox. Grandma's Chicken Noodle Soup by Sean Dorff. CB Radio Experts by Ed Madden. My Mother Hates Her Life. My Mother Hates Her Life by W.B. Yeats. And Marvel Mystery Oil by Jim Hatteras.
During the days, Dad drove with very few stops. He fancied himself a CB radio expert, made small talk with the truckers. We listened to baseball games on the AM radio and gospel music on the 8-track, with a little bluegrass thrown in it. I asked my father why so many people came, and he said, because a lot of people need to be saved.
It's a Marvel Mystery Oil! No one knows what's in it, not even the maker. But when I poured a quart into my Chattering V8, it settled right down and purred. When I used it on my wife's cooking, it improved the taste tremendously. Then I used it on her. Friends, my jobs, and it says I mystery oil my way through life. My mother hates her life and dyes her hair at least 3 or 4 times a week. I call and she says, "Call me right back. I'm in the middle of a new color. Burnt ruby." My mother hates her life and thinks that burnt ruby will bring her man back to the bedroom, on his knees, with the word yes on his hot, red tongue.
When my father came to town, the crowd sat quiet, slowly baking inside those masonry block walls. I asked my father why so many people came, and he said because a lot of people need to be saved. But they came to see him for the same reasons they came to see the hookers in Memphis, the strippers in New Orleans, why they shot crack in Little Rock, and played craps at Biloxi, and why they ordered useless shit off the TV. Because they wanted to be saved, but they didn't know where the saving was, and they would try anywhere they could.
Beware! Fundamentalist right-wing Christians are not allowed in the back. Kathy Lee Gifford is not allowed in the back. Both LaToya and Tito Jackson are not allowed in the back. If you're homophobic, misogynist, a racist, or watch Walker, Texas Ranger for kicks, the back is not for you. The back is where the magic happens. The back is where you should be. You see, Grandma served every bowl herself, with a spoon and a smile. And nobody left without using both. But you couldn't keep it in a thermos. No, you had to eat it fresh, from the can, to Grandma's hands, to your lips. And it always did the trick. Always. Almost always. But if it didn't, it was an easy fix. Just use a little more. Grandma's chicken noodle soup.
Later that night, they would not feel so saved anymore, and they would try anything again. They would drink whiskey from mason jars. They would shoot out windows. They would give money to strangers on the TV and hang themselves in bonds. But nothing ever worked.
It's slick with the smell of wintergreen, defeating friction mysteriously. In fact, I use some of it on this poem, and if you do not grasp it tightly, it'll slip from your fingers along the floor and out the door, into a world that needs lubrication, in the worst possible way. Marble Mystery Oil. It's better than a religion. It's a means of getting through. My mother thinks his return will change things. In the evening, with her head over the kitchen sink, with a douche-like bottle, posed with her scalp, burning with her scalp, pleading with her scalp, and all of its demands. My mother thinks his return will cure her hypertension, will cheer the cat, and will make the neighbors take notice of her shiny new hair.
I asked my father why so many people came, and he said, because a lot of people need to be saved. But it wasn't the saving they really wanted. It was always something they could never have. The woman whose husband backed over their kid, she wants him to stop drinking to kill the guilt. The man whose brother was gored by a bull, he wants to pay the $250,000 hospital bill. The Vietnam vet, he wants somebody to kiss the unhealable wound he uses for a face. I've seen farmers mangled by their own equipment, limbless and struggling to the front, for one little sweat drop of God's grace, for one crumb of his infinite mercy to fall from his table, for the relief promised to the beggars, lepers, and prostitutes in the parables of Christ. And I've never seen one of them saved.
But I've been to the back, and it's not Eden. It's the apple. The false promise. A better book. A better nose. A better lover. A better life. No. Grab all you can off the displays up front, and shove it down your pants if you have to. Because all the merchandise is up front. And with a little creativity, and just the right belt, it would be so you. You see, Grandma might have added a few extra bingo tiles to her soup, and those extra teeth in there, that was for flavor. You see, Grandma was a part of the soup, and she told me, when she drowns in that soup bowl, you eat that soup. You get revenge for Grandma, and you eat Grandma's chicken noodle soup killer. And I knew I would eat that soup, but not for Grandma's revenge. Because no one wants the sniffles. Because we all could use a little more hair on our chest. We all have belly aches. And no one likes looking at deaf people. So not one of us would ever waste a bowl of Grandma's chicken noodle soup.
I asked my father why so many people came. And he said, because a lot of people need to be saved.